Let's get Michael in. Hi, Michael.
Hello, I would like to talk about Kirk Cousins. I don't know why he's the backup for the Atlanta Falcons. It's the stupidest thing since the World War.
What? Okay. I mean, I wanted to talk about Kirk Cousins because, like, I'm at work. Otherwise, I really don't really see why you wanted to. But okay, maybe I missed something. Mike Schopp.
fella stopped me on the street last night. Said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole.
Happy 716 Day. The Bills and Sabres Foundation's hosting and helping raise as much money for local charities as possible. 550 charities are participating, and you can donate any amount to your favorite charities at give716.org. Donations do go until 11:59 p.m. tonight, and starting now, the first 300 donors of $71.61 or more will receive an exclusive New Era Give 716 cap. There will be more hour-specific giveaways that will keep you posted on throughout the day. But the total donations as of now have just crossed over the $1 million mark. The Sabres did unveil their 2025 schedule today. The opener will be at home Thursday, October 9th against the New York Rangers. We'll get more on the Sabres. Paul Hamilton does join the show next. And then the first round of the British Open, that is going to be starting in the early hours of the morning tomorrow. Today, though, round one of the Porter Cup, it is underway at Niagara Falls Country Club. We go now, though, to Brian Koziel, who is live in Lewiston for an update.
Hey, Zach, good afternoon. It's steamy and hot up here in Lewiston at Niagara Falls Country Club, but it's the great annual amateur event, the 66th edition of the Porter Cup, and we've got a really good score on top right now through the first round as most of the players are finishing in the later stages of round one. Nikita Gubenko from Virginia has a 8 under par 62 up on the board. He is in the lead right now. Biggest gallery out of the course right now following the New York men's amateur champion Anthony Delisandi out of Sanborn and Valparaiso. He's +3 right now, struggling a little bit. He's playing the 18th hole. Last year's Porter Cup runner-up, Ryan Edholm out of Canisius, he is +1. He's in the same group with Delisandi today. But admission is free. Spectators are welcome. Round 2 will kick off tomorrow morning at 7:30. Reporting live round 1 of the Porter Cup here at Niagara Falls Country Club. Zach, back to you.
Thank you, Brian. We'll get another update from Brian in just about an hour at 4, and with the Open starting tomorrow, Brian will also join the show at 5, so do stay tuned for that. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
Monday, Tuesday, hump day is halfway. It's Mike Schopp.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
And the Bulldog.
Hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on. I know you can hear me.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR
Hump day.
Sports Radio 550.
Guess what today is? It's too hot. That's what today is. It's too hot. I was listening to a podcast called The Distraction. It's Drew McGarry and David Roth, maybe sometimes other people also from Defector. And I like this kind of stuff for us, just random thoughts that come up. And on this particular podcast, I think it was McGarry asked David Roth, what's the part of your body where maybe it was like your parents or your mom when you were a kid was the one that you think of her just reminding you the most often to put sunscreen. Don't forget about your blank kind of thing. And I thought about that for a few seconds before David Roth answered, and he said, top of the feet. That's good. Top of the feet. My thought was back of the ears, back of the neck, back of the ears. And there's also back of the knees, by the way. Top several answers on the board for this question. Where did your mom, growing up, sort of nag you the most often? Don't forget to put the sunscreen there. So good luck to Brian and the golfers out there or anywhere today in this kind of weather. Give716.org is the site for charitable donations. We'll keep you posted on the tally throughout the day and the other offers that come along hour by hour for people who make donations of certain amounts. We'll talk to Brad May today, later this hour. Brad is in town to help promote Give 716, if not for other reasons. And I know he was out at a location earlier today with Tim Connolly, two of the great Leafs by the way, Brad May and Tim Connolly. So that'll be a part of our show throughout the day as well. Right now, why wait? Paul Hamilton on the West Her Hotline to talk about the Sabres schedule, which came out. Paul has written about that at WGR550.com. Paul, what's the most notable thing about it for you?
You know how they really got into those Saturday afternoon games? And they used to really load up on them, especially against Western Conference, far west teams. Because if it's a 1 o'clock game in Buffalo, it's an 11 a.m. game in San Jose type of a thing. They only have a couple on Saturdays, which I've been reading some things that the NHL is trying to be uniformly a 7 o'clock league, and I wonder if that had something to do with it. They only have 2 afternoon games on Saturdays, so that was a little bit surprising to me. They have a home afternoon game on a Monday against the Colorado Avalanche on Columbus Day, and later that night, the Bills are in Atlanta to play the Falcons. So it'll be a hockey day around noonish, and then a Bills day later on. And there are a couple other Bills, the 2 others, I think. The Sabres are in Seattle, and the Bills are in New England on December 14th, and on December 21st the next week. The Sabres are in New Jersey, and the Bills are in Cleveland. So those are really the only 3 conflicts, the Atlanta game and those 2.
And none of those 3 is one where both teams are home.
Correct. Actually, they're all on the road except Buffalo home against Colorado, that 12:35 game.
On
the
Columbus
Bills are away on all 3 of them, and the Sabres are away on 2 of the 3.
Did you ever go to 2? Were you ever lucky enough to go to 2 games in one day? Bills, Sabres?
So did Kent Hull. I mean, the Bills would play and the Sabres would play at 7:05, and Kent Hull was in his season tickets. He was there. So he'd bring Mitch Farad, or he'd bring guys with him. Quite often, just straight from the stadium right down to the arena, to do it. As a kid, that never happened. As a kid. My parents did the best they could, but they really only could take me to 1 game, so we would decide what game to go to. So it wasn't a situation, and we'd rarely go to a Bills game. So it was just, the 1 hockey game, and that was it.
I never did both in a day, but at least once, my father and I went to Stallions, then Sabres, in the odd. So indoor soccer, maybe 2 o'clock, then dinner somewhere, and then back in for what might have been an 8 o'clock Sabres game in those days. So that was pretty special. A lot of these Sabres schedules looked the same every year with like front-loaded home games. There's a lot of road games in December. One thing about this, Paul, before I even thought about it, like, okay, here's the schedule. It looks like the schedule looks. Starts October 9th. Ends April 15th. That's about the usual calendar. But it not only adds 2 more games, but there's the Olympic break, almost a 3-week break. It's going to feel like they're playing every night.
We're going to kind of lose the season. I mean, the last game is February 5th at home against Pittsburgh. The next game is until February 25th in New Jersey. So you kind of forget maybe the season's going after a while when it's going to be that long. And you mentioned the home games early. And the Sabres, I mean, if they want to make the playoffs, they have to take advantage. 6 of their first 8 are at home. They have to take advantage of that. And they have only 4 road games in October, and 2 are in Boston. And the Bruins might not be that good this year. So, one of the home games is against Colorado, and 1 is against Florida. I get that. And you can lose at any point. But I really think they really have to be on it in the beginning of the season. And come out of October with a really good record and get this season off the right start if they want to, break this thing of 14 years without being in the playoffs.
I have to remind myself that Boston's down. they're never down, it seems. And so, like you're saying that, like, 6 out of the first 8, 10 of the first 14, I believe, into the first week of November before a road trip. But it is going to be. I don't know. It's not going to be something that you're necessarily even aware of, but 84 games instead of 82, and they're packed into about the same time frame. It's not like the season's going until May because of the Olympics, it's going to feel like they're playing every night.
Yeah, you confused me there.
Well, I mean, they've added 2 games to the schedule, and you're taking almost 3 weeks out from the middle. So these games have to be packed in somewhere, Like if you look at January, you've got 2 weeks in a row where you're playing 4 times. It's going to feel like that.
No, yeah, definitely. It's with the Olympic year, we really kind of see bad hockey. We'll see good hockey when they come back in February. They'll be flying. Everybody will be flying, but that'll end, and then everybody's going to be tired. You're always going to have a team 3-4 or both teams 3-4, and that's just not good hockey. To be watching that. You're
talking about the advantage of playing at home early like that to try to just not get buried or even get a lead. 10 of the first 14 games. I wonder how they'll do, Paul, this offseason in trying to get the building back. I mean, you don't want to have it get to like it's been so many times the middle of the season where it feels like they're already dead, and the building can be so dreary when that's the case. Do you think they have a good look at or any look at sort of getting fans to an optimistic place so that when they're playing these home games in October and early November, like you mentioned, they can feed off the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, get the crowd going. And Mike, I want to what you confused me on. It's only 82 games this year.
Oh, they haven't gone to 84 yet?
84 next year.
Okay, sorry.
So I just wanted to correct that.
Well, I can find a couple of open dates where we can add a couple if we need to here.
Yeah,
there aren't many.
That's what got me confused.
Okay.
when we were talking, and so
okay, I thought that was
80, it's 82 this year.
All right, it's still true.
What you're saying is right.
Yes,
it's condensed because of the Olympics. They have 12 back-to-backs, which sometimes they have 12. I mean, that's not crazy. Back-to-backs, and you don't get too many early. You got a really good Toronto back-to-back in October, which is cool. And then you don't have another one until mid-November, when they go to Utah and Colorado. So and then it takes you to December before you have another one in Calgary and Edmonton. So you don't have really too many back-to-backs. Those are the only back-to-backs this calendar year until you get into January, where it's mid-January where you have a couple. So, I think that helps that. The thing is, back-to-backs, I think, are better early than they are later because you're not as injured, you're not as tired. But they tend to be a little bit lighter on the schedule in normal years, and you don't get quite as many back-to-backs to start the year. And I would think it would make more sense to do it earlier in the season than later.
I wonder if, because of this overall point with the Olympic break, it looks like maybe the league, or at least the Sabres, I'm not looking at the other teams, or at least in terms of the Sabres, there are longer stretches of homestands and road trips as opposed to, 2 here, 2 there, 3 here, whatever, just like breaking it up. You've got weeks where you've got, all home games, all road games, not even traveling that far. I wonder if that has been a strategy here, just to try to reduce travel in a year where there's going to be that break again makes it that the games are just more condensed.
Well, they got that 6 game. The longest one is 6 games. And you start in Philadelphia, and then you have a day off, and then you play in Winnipeg, and then you have 2 days off, and you play Calgary and Edmonton back-to-back. Then you have a day off, and you're in Vancouver. Then you have 2 days off, and you're in Seattle. So it's going to be a long trip. They'll leave for Philadelphia on December 2nd. They won't get home until December 15th. And will have played 6 games. They also have a 5-game trip in there, too. So they have a 6-game trip and a 5-game trip this year. And then they do have a fairly lengthy homestand also, a 5-game homestand in January where they'll be, around. And you might as well, in a 5-game homestand in March. And as I said earlier, you talked about you got 6 of 8 to start the season at home. So, and one of the road games is against Boston. So, it's 6 games is a little bit long for a road trip for an Eastern Conference team, not for a Western Conference team. But again, I think it's because of the Olympics.
About the fans' point, though, from earlier, I asked you about. Like we've of course, been through all the different things that have happened. Peterka's trade and the Byram stuff. He's going to be on the roster almost definitely, signed now. What's your sense of the fan base's sort of attitude about this? I mean, 14 years is 14 years. Yeah. But do you think the Sabres will have a tough time building up to these early home games where they're going to feel there's going to be some pressure on and off the ice, I think, with these guys to get off to a good start so we don't have another season that feels lost early?
And when I talk about this, I'm not criticizing the fans. It's been 14 years. But it's been pretty toxic around here lately with the fans. I mean, 2 years ago, the players basically declared war on the fans because they were booing them like all the time. One little mistake, and so they didn't think it was fair. And I don't know if some of the players are even over that yet. But you know how you fix that? Win some hockey games early, just like you said. In the October, maybe you're going to feel some pressure being at home, especially if you start losing. And they'll get on you quick because of what's happened here in 14 years. They're not going to put up with much. So the best way to change what is happening around here is just start winning. Win some hockey games. You got 6 of 8 at home. Win 5 or 6 of them. And get off to a good start. Give them something to cheer about. Instead of a power play where you never even got the puck in the zone and they're booing you. Give them something to cheer about, and like you did at the end of last season, when you got hot. And, of course, there was no pressure on them or whatever.
It was too late, yeah.
Right, it was too late. But, at least they played better. Well, do that in October, and that's how you get your fans back. That's how you get them in the arena. Because they've commented as players that, when they have really good games and the fans really get into it, they're like, wow, the fans were great tonight. Because it's almost like, they put on a good performance and the fans appreciated, and the fans really got it into it. And they were loud, and they were, booing the referees, and they were really into the game. And but to me, that's the only thing I can tell you is just start winning, and you will get your fans back.
Do you expect to be optimistic for them? I mean, these changes this summer. Bulldog isn't here to talk about how they haven't replaced Peterka's offense, but really that's a fair point. Do you expect to be optimistic?
I'm basically just neutral. I like some of the things they've done, but I still don't feel they've done enough. I think for 3 years they've been trying to get a top 6 forward and failed, and I think that's a failure. But, I still believe that if the goaltending comes through and your goaltending is better than it was last year and you get good goaltending and get the save percentage up and make the big saves when somebody makes a mistake, you bail them out and help them out. That's how you play as a team. Somebody makes a mistake, you're there to bail them out. A defenseman might bail out a forward, or there's a turnover and a goaltender bails out and keeps you in a hockey game. And instead of being down 1-0 because you couldn't make a big save and there was a big turnover, it's still 0-0. All right, cool. Now let's go the other way. But that's the biggest thing. But I still think it's a failure that they haven't been able to get a top 6 forward. People, like Kevin Adams talked about Benson or Quinn. If we're looking for somebody on the roster who could maybe make up for Peterka, yeah, one of those 2 guys could, but that wouldn't be the first name out of my mouth. Yuri Kulik would be the first one out of my mouth. Yuri Kulik really made strides last year. This guy can put the puck in the net. He has got a great shot. He really improved his two-way game. So if you ask me, well, all right, if they don't get somebody, who on the roster could help? Yuri Kulik would be the number one name off my tongue, not Jack Quinn or Zach Benson.
The whole thing about the fans, I mean, you and I know well just what Buffalo Sabres, like that energy when they're good, it's way up there. I mean, it's been so long, but when it last was that, the town went crazy. And we're at a point, and I want to bring this up with Brad May, who's doing TV out covering Vegas.
Not anymore.
Oh, he's not?
He been a couple of years since he was doing that.
Oh, okay.
I actually don't know what he's doing. I think he's located in Toronto now, but I don't think he's doing media.
Okay. Well,
unless he's picked something up for this year.
He has had experience with that scene out there, and we've watched it and what's happened in Florida, and these markets. I mean, Vegas is obviously relatively new, but the league is different now in this way where a player, thinking about Briere, right? He's always the first one that comes to mind for me. Just, how it felt like hockey here. You could say that about Fort Lauderdale or Las Vegas or Seattle, right? Where they either didn't exist or we would look at them very differently. And it sort of pushes the Sabres down in this way. It's a tougher thing now to accomplish. This is like marketing players and that kind of thing. But to get those early wins would just be a step, like a badly needed step toward reestablishing that kind of atmosphere, because lately it's just not what you think of. I mean, it's just been so long since they've been good enough for it to matter late in the season and where you get into that sort of playoff mood. So it's tougher now. We've got new markets and just older ones that have come to life. Florida, most namely, Dallas even, where you've just got, I think it's pretty impressive and exciting to think about hockey in those places.
Florida was an utter embarrassment for years. They covered the seats up top. They covered them. It was such an embarrassment because nobody was up there.
Yeah.
And then they got good. Now you get people in the building. Carolina. You went to a Sabres game in Carolina. It was like a Leaf game here. It was just like it. And Carolina fans did not like Sabre fans. They did not feel the Sabre fans behaved in their building. I don't know. I wasn't in the stands. I can't say to it. But, yeah. Now Carolina, they have their own fans in there who are loud and excited and that type of thing. But that's not the way it used to be. They had to win first to get those fans in there. And Buffalo, which had no problem getting fans in the building getting excited, now, it's near the bottom as far as average attendance and that type of thing. So winning cures everything.
And they'll have those early home games to see what they can do. All right, Paul, thanks for your time today.
No problem. Actually, you're talking about Brian Koziel. His son is a really good golfer. I was listening to him at the Porter Cup, and I'm thinking, wouldn't shock me in X amount of years if Brian's son is in the Porter Cup.
But where does Brian always have to tell his kids to put the sunscreen? Like where do they never think to put the sunscreen? And he's got to be there to remind them. I don't know that answer.
Or maybe his son reminds Brian. Who knows?
Maybe. At least in golf, you don't have to worry about the top of the feet too badly. All right. Thank you, Paul.
Take care.
Paul's appearances on WGR are brought to you by Equitable Advisors. Planning for your future is about more than just money. Let Equitable be your guide. And by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this. Paul's article on the schedule is at WGR550.com. The Sabres own, or I guess NHL.com, the Sabres site, did a nice job today. It's the schedule and the graphic, but also breaking down, chronologically some of the more interesting sections of the schedule. I wonder if, I don't know, it's not that big a deal, but that Olympic break, and we're not stretching the schedule out, keeping teams at home for a week to mitigate more of the travel. I don't remember the schedules quite looking like this, where 5 home, 5 away, like we talked about a little bit there. That happens 2 or 3 times during the season. All right, I mentioned that Brad May will join us on the occasion of 716 Day. Give716.org is the site. Will be fun to reconnect with Brad after this break. This is Mike Schopp. Bulldog is off today. This is WGR. Welcome back. Give716.org to donate. Over $1 million has been raised already to hundreds of charities. In total, more than 550 charities participating. Look it all up, give716.org. We expect to talk to Brad May about the event here in just a bit. John Daigle will join me at 4 from Establish the Run. He sounded eager to come on and talk about some of his Bills projections for this year, and I'm looking forward to that. I don't know so much about how these projections get made. I mean, I think about point spreads a lot and some of this stuff and play a lot of fantasy football, but like I have from Bet Online, every quarterback's like big stats, passing yards, touchdown passes, interceptions, and for guys like Allen who run all the time, rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. And I wanted to be a little bit more involved than just like, here's last year, and basically we're giving you the same numbers. Go for it, over, under. Like Allen's, at this particular site, his passing yards line is 37.50 and a half, and last year he was at 37.31 full season. So that's almost exactly identical. I don't know what you want to do with that. Maybe nothing. So we'll talk more about that in a little while. Right now, I'm really excited to have Brad May back on the show. For me, it's been a long time since talking to Brad. Of course, no introduction needed here, over 1,000 games in the league. One of the most famous goals in Sabres history, if not number one. Brad, Mike Schopp here. How's life?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
I'm all right. What's new with you?
That was a really nice introduction. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
It was many years ago, 1993, that goal. But above and beyond that, my 7.5, 8 seasons I was with the Sabres were truly memorable. And I was actually in Buffalo the last couple of days and missed my friends there for sure.
Yeah, you never forget your first, right, Brad? I mean, this is the organization you started with, and many great memories the fans have, too.
Yeah, you know what? It was an incredible place for me to start my career. I'm sure I've told this story many times, even on the air with the Sabres, but I was such a lucky guy. I got selected to play in Niagara Falls for the Niagara Falls Thunder when I was a teenager, of course, and then I was drafted 25, 30 minutes down the road to the Buffalo Sabres. So I felt like I was a semi-local boy, exactly how Jerry Meehan announced it at the draft floor. I was given a really neat opportunity to kind of, immerse myself into obviously Western New York, but the Niagara Peninsula, 30 minutes away, made it much easier to make the team, but also make that jump from junior hockey to the NHL.
Yeah, I get it. It wasn't such a foreign thing, right? I mean, you could go to places you knew. You grew up in Toronto anyway, or near Toronto, so I think that would be a pretty good advantage for a young player. Buffalo has long been a town where, I mean, hockey people, so many over the years have made their homes here. And I just wonder, like, what it is for you about this area that, on the occasion of Give 716, that makes it so special to so many.
Well, number one, if I could just speak of myself for a moment, I live just north of Toronto, so I'm not too far away. I'm on the highway right now, but because I left Buffalo. But yeah, if I wasn't living north of Toronto where I grew up, I can see myself living in Western New York, right in Buffalo. I mean, it feels like home. The cool part about 716, and of course the Day of Giving, and through the organizations in Buffalo and all the 501c3 charities, there's so many that are underserved and maybe just don't get in front of the masses. What an unbelievable endeavor from Mr. and Mrs. Pagula down, from the Bills, the Sabres, the Bandits, obviously just the community itself at large. When I left this morning, I was at Key Bank in Williamsville. Mm-hmm. I looked at the total there at about $860,000, which I imagine that's going to be eclipsed and going to go well into the $1 million threshold. It just speaks volumes of the community, obviously the people in Buffalo, Western New York, and understanding that there's so many wonderful charities and giving people, philanthropic people that, you know what, they give of themselves, and to have the support of their community is amazing. Last night, I was at the draft room right beside the arena, and there was a couple hundred people there. It was really, really cool. Obviously saw football fans, lacrosse fans, hockey fans, and a lot of this money is desperately needed in those certain sectors. And I'll just give you one quick story, Mike, if you don't mind.
Please.
I met I forget her name, but I met a woman last night who started a charity, and they give flowers and gift baskets to widowers. So like first thing you think about is Roswell Park and children with cancer, and you go down the path. There's so many people that need love and support. And this woman came up with this idea that on Valentine's Day they give these baskets and flowers to widowers, and they've tied it into the school system where they have the children, write these Valentine cards, and it's amazing. Puts a smile on someone's face 5-10 years after losing their loved one, that, you know what, they know that they're supported and they're loved in their community. I had a tear in my eye when I gave her a hug last night, because I was like, these are things you don't hear of unless you're actually, amongst those people, or, it's hard for these people to get their story and the word out. And this 716 Day of Giving, which is wonderful, enables and has given these people an opportunity, which is fantastic.
Very cool and very well said about the area, and the great point about not just the charities you hear about all the time, not that they're not worthy. With Brad May on the Western Hotline, this is Mike Schopp. One hockey-related question I wanted to ask you from your experience. I mean, you played for so long, and you also played in like all corners of North America, and then into broadcasting here and out west also. We're at a point where, I mean, Vegas won, Florida has won 2, Seattle, Utah. I mean, there's just we would maybe have a tendency to put down certain markets around here, thinking of how loyal this fan base is, Florida with empty buildings, or Carolina. And that's very different now. And I wonder what your perspective might be when it comes to this, because the Sabres have some challenges when it comes to recruiting players, and it just seems like the competition is obviously deeper and, better.
Yeah, you know what? So we had this conversation actually this morning, Tim Connolly and myself, and along with Marty Biron and Brian Duff, they did their show from the Key Bank, the branch that we were at. We had a conversation basically talking about, obviously, there's the zero state taxes, there's the different regions in the country. Of course, you got Canada, you're dealing with provincial governments and state governments and all these different things. The bottom line is winning begets winning. So, it's the chicken and egg theory. Is it the tax, structures of these different states and cities that, are obviously more advantageous for players? That's true. Climate is definitely a differentiator. But at the end of the day, hockey players want to play hockey, and they want to win hockey games, and they want to be part of a vaunting program that actually produces wins and certainly a lot of excitement and fun. So for Buffalo, listen, we know, the people that are listening to this show know that Western New York, certainly Buffalo Sabres, they've had a tough run. They haven't been a good team winning-wise for quite some time, and that's going to hurt them. If they can find the way to turn the corner with the talent and the players they do have, find that spirit and resolve to go win more hockey games, they won't be a problem recruiting players to come play in Buffalo. And the Buffalo Bills possibly going to another Super Bowl run, all this stuff. Buffalo's an incredible place. It definitely gets overlooked at times when you start looking at all these other factors, but the bottom line is hockey players want to play on a good hockey team, have an opportunity to win and compete, and I see that happening. I see that being such an opportunity for the Buffalo Sabres and certainly these young players. Grab the bull, bull by the horns and get after it. I'm obviously somewhat biased. I love my life in Buffalo, and there's no question there's competition with other markets, but the game of hockey's grown. the talent level is absolutely the best it's ever been. And somehow management and coaching, obviously in Buffalo, have to figure out a way with the players they have to go and win hockey games. If they do that, it'll take care of itself.
Right. Just as it has at other times in the Sabres history. You know, like what those two incredible seasons, 06 and 07, where did that come from? You know, like they were just out of bankruptcy, and it felt somewhat like this, where like maybe they could have been moved, Brad, you know, in those years for a minute, but they did not have, you know, put to them super high expectations out of the lockout, and they killed it. So that you can always be optimistic, because sometimes you just don't see it coming.
Well, and the whole point there is, and I recognize why we're talking today about obviously 716 Day and raising my charity and the great community of Western New York. Bottom line is, you got to win hockey games. If you win hockey games, that takes care of itself. The excitement will be back in the building. That excitement will bring more fans, more money, and more eyeballs to the product. And the bottom line is, they got Lindy Ruff, who's had success in Buffalo as a player and as a coach and manager, and he's there, and he's got his team, and he's got to find a way to beat. There's 31 other teams that want to beat Buffalo's ass every day that they play them. And sometimes over the last 10, 15 years, it's probably been an easier night for some of those teams playing against the Buffalo Sabres. Some way, somehow, I don't know, go back to maybe, this is me being a little bit biased, but go back to 1995-96 when Ted Nolan was our coach. We were the hardest working team in hockey, or certainly branded as that. We didn't end up making the playoffs that season, the last year at the odd. But you know what? We are damn exciting. We brought a different element, which obviously is not in the game today. But we had a heart and a spirit, and in the world of a Kasich, you know, backstopping our team. But and that helps. But at the end of the day, you got to find a way. It's not just about skating, shooting, and beautiful hockey plays. It's about taking the will of, away from your opposition. It's about making any night in Buffalo a difficult night to play on.
Brad May with us,
and of course.
Sorry.
Oh, and of course the talent level, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you got to win hockey games. If they do that, I'll be a fan. I'll be driving down from Toronto all the time to come watch.
I didn't mean to step on you there. The connection was breaking up, so I wasn't sure I still had you. By the way, I should probably not mention 06-07 without also mentioning that you were on the Cup winner that year in Anaheim. That had to be memories you won't forget.
Oh, dude, it was a dream come true. Of course, 16 years in the NHL at that point for me, and I got traded at the trade deadline from the Colorado Avalanche, and fortunately for myself, I landed in Anaheim with a great team, and through that playoff run, I was actually had my fingers crossed that Buffalo was going to beat Ottawa in the conference final in the East, and Anaheim, had we, which we did, we beat Detroit. I would have faced against the Buffalo Sabres, and that would have been absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, Ottawa played too well, and Buffalo found themselves in some injury trouble, and we didn't get that chance. But winning the Stanley Cup and just being part of a team that did that, everybody in Buffalo, I swear to God, if Buffalo ever gets to this point, and I hope it's sooner than later, we're all going to have an absolute time of our lives celebrating and cheering that team on, because it's the best place to be as a hockey player, and I'm certainly sure as a fan to cheer your team on at that level at that time of the year. So my fingers are crossed for the Buffalo Sabres.
One thing I remember about that season, 06-07, I remember a lot of things, but from being in here with Bulldog, the 5-06 season, the Sabres were so close. 06-07, they win the President's Trophy, but Bulldog kept saying, Anaheim is scary. Like they were, and Tim Connolly missing almost that entire season, coming back for the playoffs. Think about how that could have been, did add to their depth. But man, I think of Bulldog when I think of those Ducks, because he was just like, I don't know, this is about it's about the Cup, and I don't know.
The interesting part, I again, listen, we had our time. Time does pass. The Anaheim Ducks, although we were emblazoned on the Stanley Cup and our team and our names, and it's wonderful. I would say the closest team to be the Florida Panthers, who have obviously won the last 2 Stanley Cups, were the Anaheim Ducks in 2007. A team that actually could beat you in many different fashions. They were tougher than everybody they played. They played tougher. You had a buy-in from the whole group. Your star players were tough. We had Tamu Solani who grinded it out. We had Chris Pronger and Scott Niedermayer. At the end of the day, you need superstars, but then you also need an emerging young core. And that group was Corey Perry, Ryan Getzlaff, Chris Kunitz, who goes on to win 4 Stanley Cups.
Wow.
We had tough guys in George Peros and Sean Thornton. You know what? When I look at the Florida Panthers, the way they beat their team, the teams they played, they took the will away from the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Toronto Maple Leafs, rolled over Carolina, which I didn't see coming, and then, of course, David, for the most part. Florida was a good team, and you know what? If I'm a Buffalo Sabre fan, I want to get some of that spirit in my lineup.
Yeah, that's a good comp. Dustin Penner, another one from that Ducks team you were on. Big guys. Well, thank you, Brad. It's great to talk to you again, and appreciate, on behalf of everybody involved, your efforts in helping give 716 Day come off.
Well, the coolest part about it, Mike, is you can't do it alone. You do it team and as an organization, and I swear to God, the community of Western New York is second to none, and it was beautiful to be a part of it. But it takes many of us to show up and do this stuff, and of course, it takes all the people that are so kind and generous to donate. So I really do hope that the 716 Day is a success and has been, and really, really thrilled that I was asked to be part of it.
Very nice. Thanks, Brad. Enjoyed talking to you as always.
Take care. All the best to you guys.
Thank you. Brad May with us. Give716.org is the site, and you can pick which charities you want to support. It's now close to or more than $5.5 million since this idea was launched. I think this is year 5. So the goal was, I believe I heard 1.4 today, and they look like they're well on their way, thanks to everybody who's been donating. I want to talk more about some of what Brad said. We'll do some football at the top of the hour as well. 803-0550 to join me. This is Mike Schopp on WGR. Welcome back. Give716.org to donate. Over $1 million raised already today. The first 300 donors this hour of $71.60 or more receive or received a New Era exclusive Give 716 cap. I don't know if they've reached that number yet, so you might want to find out. Just a few more minutes. It'll be a different promotion next hour. Speaking of hats, Josh Allen is now an equity partner and ambassador for New Era. He's been involved with them before, but that escalated today. And I saw that there are 9 hats, I believe, that were designed by kids, maybe with O'Shea. And he's going to wear one hat before each home game. I don't know exactly when. Probably just, taking the field for warm-ups or something. But I thought that was a nice touch. Coming up today, actually very soon, John Daigle from Establish the Run will join me just after 4. Back-to-back days for Establish the Run guests. That's a coincidence. Evan Silva was on yesterday, and we've talked to him more often over the years, probably about a decade by now. And John only maybe once or twice, but he looked me up last week maybe about a random thing. He might want to mention it. He met some people somewhere that were asking about a certain restaurant in Buffalo. And I have never been to it, but I'd heard of it, and he was excited that I'd heard of it. And he's like, when do you want me on next? Like, Wednesday. Wednesday was open. I didn't think about it lining up with Give 716. I'm not sure John has ever been here. I think maybe he has. Anyway, that's how it ended up being back-to-back. I mean, I'm not shy about bringing on guys from sites like that, but it didn't really mean for it to be 2 days in a row. Still be good. Also at 5, very special guest, Bulldog. Very rare guest appearance. It's the Open Championship. Starting tomorrow morning, I think at 1:30 our time. And it's his turn to make these golf picks, so we can't it's not like when he misses a Friday during the NFL season and he can, I guess we could have done this, but just texted them in. No. He's taking time out of his vacation to call in and tell us who he is picking to win the Open Championship. Looks like maybe it'll be constantly raining at that tournament. So that could be interesting, and windy. I like the windy as a viewer. I don't want the potential for delays, though, so that's not ideal. Brian Koziol will be a part of that conversation, too, as always, when we go into the Pick 10 contest. Mike Schopp here, back talking Bills and the upcoming season with John Daigle. This is WGR.
Sixth day, the Buffalo Bills and Sabres Foundations will be hosting and helping raise as much money for local charities as possible. 550 charities are participating, and you can donate any amount to your favorite charities at give716.org. Donations will be going until tonight at 11:59 p.m. In this hour, Wegmans is going to be matching $25,000 donations, and the total donations have crossed the $1 million mark. The Sabres unveiled their 2025 schedule today. The opener is going to be at home Thursday, October 9th, against the New York Rangers. Paul Hamilton does have more on the schedule up at our website, WGR550.com. First round of the British Open, that is going to start up in the early hours of the morning tomorrow. But today, round one of the Porter Cup is underway at Niagara Falls Country Club. We go now to Brian Koziel, who is live in Lewiston for an update.
Hey, Zach, good afternoon. Steamy, hot conditions up here, but the first round almost in the books on the men's side. Nikita Gubenko out of Virginia is the leader here. He's at 8 under par, shot a 62. Kobe Carruthers from New Zealand is in second place. He's at -6. The top American, Ryan Hart, he's the son of Buffalo native Dudley Hart. He's tied for fourth right now at -4. It's the 66th edition for the men and the 12th edition for the women. The ladies right now still in the midst of their round, most of them on the course still as of this moment. We'll update you again and preview the Open with Mike Schopp coming up in an hour, live from Lewiston here at Niagara Falls Country Club at the Porter Cup. Brian Koziel, Zach, back to you.
Thank you, Brian. And you heard it right there. We'll be back on in just about an hour to talk the Open Championship and the Porter Cup today. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. On WGR Sports Radio 550.
I have played that golf course Brian's at once, Niagara Falls Country Club. Really cool. And there's a hole on the back nine where it's maybe a par 3, I'm not sure, you're playing toward the escarpment. And that's pretty great. And I remember that day, it was in the morning, and as we got up to the green, we could hear a band off in the distance. Like, oh, what's going on? And I knew that Trombone Shorty was playing that night at Art Park. And I'm like, I bet we're listening to Trombone Shorty's rehearsal right now. And we were. And that brought on a conversation about whether I actually did see Trombone Shorty. Like, do I have to physically see him to be able to claim that I was at that show? Or I was even at the rehearsal? I mean, I know I wasn't. But then I did see him the next year, so never mind anyway. With me now on the West Her Hotline is John Daigle from Establish the Run. John, you're everywhere today. You did the podcast at ETR about the coaching changes and their effects for this year, and then the randomizer. That's not for the faint of heart.
The Fantasy Pros pod a couple days ago as well, a podcast with JJ Zachariason. It's been a busy week, but honestly, that just tells you the exact time we are to where veterans are somehow reporting to their first training camp in Los Angeles today. There is the Hall of Fame, the first preseason game, in a couple of weeks. So it's just that time of the year where I get tagged in and it's time to get to work.
Well, I mean, as excited as I am to have you, this today was your idea. You and me. This was your idea last week.
Yes, and I can't even remember now that the last week of my life blurs together.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was lakeside having a couple drinks when I was texting you. But at the same time, it was also like, actually, this window is also free, and we haven't talked in a bit. So how about let's make that happen?
Let's go. So tell everybody like the extent to which you do projections and rankings and sort of like where you're coming from foundationally, and then we'll get into some of the Bills. And you might want to launch into one of your projections for them that maybe stands out as interesting.
So around this time, I am separating myself from best ball, which we've all been doing and discussing over the past few months. Not only that, but I have not personally participated in a main event draft on FFPC, so the $2,000 high-stakes leagues for all those listening, but I have been dabbling in the $350 season-long league. So I've been paying attention to some of the mid-stakes as well, but more importantly, I have pivoted to home leagues and utilizing and directing all my content towards there. And it is wildly different, as it tends to be, but this year especially, and I would say it's the third year in a row now where it's only intensified and enhanced, where home league ADP is just entirely different than best ball. And that leads me to something like lots of takes there, but let's say Brock Bowers, for example, whereas in typical home leagues, 12-team, 14-team leagues, not tight end premium, but full PPR. And Brock Bowers is someone who's going to go at the first, second round turn, maybe mid-second latest. But honestly, we're talking about him being in the same tier as an A.J. Brown, Drake London, Bucky Irving for running backs. The list goes on. And so when we're talking about like just the actual structure of drafting, I love Brock Bowers as much as anyone. But I also understand that the tight end position is completely volatile. And so I personally think it is a mistake to be taking him over those guys that you can get as a wide receiver 2 or start your hero RB builds that way. And so that's kind of like my direction right now. For the Bills, it's interesting, though, because not really anyone stands out until you get to the mid-rounds. Like, we all are questioning about James Cook's potential holdout, touchdown regression. That's what we're asking. And for Josh Allen, it's as simple as him being a top 2 quarterback in every season since 2021. He's not going anywhere due to his rushing prowess. And honestly, if you take him as one of your elite quarterbacks, and that group, of course, includes Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Hurts, it's totally fine. I'm never going to knock someone taking one of those elite guys, especially if your draft goes in a direction where the tier of running backs, the quote-unquote dead zone that we're avoiding, then leads you to instead take quarterback. But I think where I start getting the most interested is not even Khalil Shakir, but I would like to jump back in on Keon Coleman, if only because I don't know yet who Keon Coleman is as an NFL player. I don't think he answered any of our questions whatsoever last year, including his 2 highest target shares coming in a couple of games where he overlapped with Amari Cooper. But now, like, the Bills still have the same exact questions they did last year at wide receiver, and there really is no one else to take his spot where he won last year in downfield routes. And so I'm still crossing my fingers and saying we know we should target wide receivers in particular in their second year. Keon Coleman is someone who showed us at least a little bit of a splash of what he could become, but we have enough question marks where I'm going to get out of my own way and just take him on, especially in like home leagues where he's going as a wide receiver 4 or 5, and just accept whatever may be.
I like that fine. I mean, it's like last year, as you said, very similar with this team to try to figure out who's worth what. From a fantasy standpoint, I mean, I think for Shakir, you might see the same year he just had every year, where the ceiling isn't too high, but the floor is high, and he's pretty good. I don't know if he'll ever become like a red zone threat. Coleman, he's the obvious one where there might be a jump possible here. And as far as Cook goes, John, like, we're a week away in Buffalo from camp. And there's been like no move here with him. He showed up for the mandatory minicamp so as to not get fined there, and that was probably smart. But I could see a few potential outcomes here, including that he holds out. I mean, only because he was public with how he wanted a big contract, and he doesn't have it. And so what was the point of speaking out in the first place if you're not prepared to sit out a little while?
And we all saw what happened in the one game he missed last year where, although Ty Johnson was the more consistent player involved as their pass-catching back, whenever Cook was out, they said, actually, though, Ray Davis is the guy who we know can handle 23 touches and also be utilized as a receiver, a downfield threat, too, against that Jets defense. So Ray Davis is someone I know who comes up in a lot of people's sleepers list for fantasy, and why not? Because regardless of Cook's presence, maybe Davis still gets a few more touches in his second year, but more importantly, we at least saw that he has elite contingency value if Cook does hold out or misses time.
Right. John Daigle, my guest, established the run. This is Mike Schopp. Bulldog is off this week. Davis actually finished third on the team last year in yards from scrimmage, behind Cook, of course, and Shakir. Coleman was fourth. You know, the point you made about quarterbacks in drafts and home league versus not. So it's okay if I want to take Josh Allen in my home league, but especially in Buffalo, maybe, John, when am I going to have to be prepared to do it? Like, I don't think you and I are in any rush to draft quarterbacks in like round one. Is that the kind of thing you might expect to happen?
I mean, in Buffalo home leagues, or just in general in home leagues, you never know. I know Ohio home leagues as well. Joe Burrow goes early. The list goes on. And so he probably will, Josh Allen, go earlier than expected. Usual ADP is going to pop up around the fourth round, and I think that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I do think he should be the QB1 over Lamar Jackson, if only because, like, the Ravens, like, still were one of those teams. Historically, whenever you see a team that passes for at least 80% of their touchdowns, which is what happened last year, that's a number that tends to regress, and the Ravens did so at 84%, I believe it was. And so, yeah, I like Josh Allen quite a bit. But honestly, what's happening this year, and this is both FFPC and everyone's home leagues that they're tuning in, trying to set up their drafts, is that really the players that last year garnered top 10 ADPs at their position, C.J. Stroud, for example, was the QB5 in ADP behind the Big Four. Jordan Love was QB8. These guys, for their lone year of a poor performance, then went backwards entirely. And now we're talking about, especially in one quarterback leagues, getting them from the 12th round on. And so I've just really been taking this late round quarterback strategy that our friends Rich Rebar, JJ Zacharyson, they built their brands on late round quarterback, and that late round quarterbacks had rushing production that could replicate, the QB 6 through 12. That's not the case with Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, the list goes on. But those guys are there and have shown us they have an elite ceiling. And so this year I have found myself, again, I'm not trying to poke holes in the rushing quarterbacks. I understand their importance and that they are truly elite and separate. But at the same time, like, the leagues and the drafts are giving us these guys who were once deemed as top 8 options, now outside of the top 12, top 15 sometimes. And so that's the way I've been handling the position personally.
Yeah. I mean, even Tua was a passing leader. Led the league in passing yards, another guy in the middle there.
Hey, Dak Prescott's the big one. I keep telling everyone, because just go to 2023. He was number 2 in MVP voting behind Lamar Jackson and finished with a career high in touchdowns. Then, of course, CeeDee Lamb holds out, didn't participate in offseason activities, and was clearly extremely sluggish to begin the year. Dak Prescott is looking at Jalen Tolbert as his wide receiver 2, really, and then he falls down with career lows in touchdown rate and fantasy points per game. Like, that is a number we know will statistically improve from year to year, especially when you're someone who has shown that you have an immense ceiling, and that's what happened to Dak Prescott. Now CeeDee Lamb has already been at offseason workouts this year because the contract issue is settled. Dak has George Pickens, who's going to be the second best wide receiver he's played with. Like, you have to go back to make an argument for rookie year Michael Gallup, honestly, if you're talking about the next best receiver that Dak has ever played with. So the Cowboys passing offense, I understand Brian Schottenheimer is probably a joke in terms of X's and O's, but the Cowboys are just too top-heavy to fail in the regular season, and so I love latching on to their aerial attack in particular.
I like that too. Also, by the way, you referenced the 23 MVP vote. So Prescott did get second. Allen was the only person to get a first-place vote other than Jackson. He got 1, but still ended up 5th in that vote. And the guy who might have been the favorite with a month left, is Brock Purdy, who then had a night game against Baltimore, and the Ravens ate him up, and there went that. But he's somebody else that fits here, I think.
I completely agree with all of the 49ers. I'm going to throw a personal asterisk on Brandon Ayuk, if only because I tend to avoid injured players, and we don't have enough information right now to know for sure, but it sounds as if Brandon Ayuk at least has a chance to start the season on PUP list, and then we have to question when he'll actually get ranked up. So I will personally be avoiding Brandon Ayuk, but all the other guys, let's do it. Without Deebo Samuel on the field last year, Juwan Jennings, 41% target share. We saw how Ricky Pearsall closed the season. Brock Purdy arguably had the best season of his career, but he was only on the field with this iteration's version of the offense. Kittle, Jennings, and Pearsall for 10% of their plays. Not to mention the 49ers now have the league's easiest schedule. So 49ers, in my opinion, are long shots to lead the league in wins, go back to the Super Bowl, but for fantasy also just get right back there and deliver elite options with at least 4 or 5 players, Christian McCaffrey included.
With John Daigle here on WGR. Again, it's Give 716 Day, give716.org for donations. We'll continue to be tracking that through the day. Let's get back to the Bills here, John, and Dalton Kincaid. I am worried that because of Shakir and Dawson Knox, same as last year, but last year I sort of expected the year 2 point. Like they'll figure out a way to get him off better. And it didn't happen. And now I kind of wonder if it ever will, just because of the situation here. Maybe not ever, but I don't think it's great for him.
And everyone in Buffalo especially knows that it's most frustrating for how they used him last year, because whenever he returned from injury and was brought back for the playoffs the year prior, they did use him as a downfield receiver. They finally just let him loose on more intermediate and deep routes, and that's why he delivered as a ceiling tight end. He was always expected to be drafted in the first round. But then last year he comes back out, and we were higher still, our projections, on Dalton Kincaid, because we just thought Joe Brady had finally cracked the code and realized he should use this guy more downfield because he's a pure receiving tight end. But that wasn't the case at all. They brought him right back close to the line of scrimmage and just asked him to do everything underneath, and that's just not how you should use Dalton Kincaid. So I think we're right back to questioning, like, is he going to get used downfield? Because if so, then he's a value in every single draft. But if not, then unfortunately it's almost as if they're wasting his career, and I just don't get it, considering we've all seen it for 4+ games in the most important games of their 2023 season. And so, yeah, I also am and leaving Dalton Kincaid on the board as a fringe tight end 1, someone who goes in the later rounds. But genuinely, I'm crossing my fingers and just hoping they figure it out that he should not be used as they used him on the field last year.
I got an offer in Dynasty League, Tucker Kraft for Kincaid, and I took it.
As in you got Tucker Kraft?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay.
And Tucker Kraft is one of my favorite sleepers. I've put this on social media, and there are, of course, drafting tiers where players fall different. But I'm not kidding. I am genuinely considering everyone from Sam Laporta and Travis Kelce all the way to Hunter Henry at tight end 25. They're all kind of the same guys, right? Even Kyle Pitts had an elite October. Mark Andrews was unusable the first month, 5 games of the season, and then broke out simply by having touchdowns. Sam Laporta was unusable for half the season. All these guys are the same players that have delivered and then fallen apart completely in different windows. Tucker Kraft, though, is my favorite of the bunch if you're waiting, just because he has shown us that he's similar to Jeremy Shockey. He's an athlete, and then also as we throw darts at the Packers wide receivers, since they have an ambiguous target tree from Jordan Love and with Matthew Golden this year, those darts should include the tight end, who, by the way, whenever Christian Watson was off the field, since we're not expecting him to play during the regular season, it was still Tucker Kraft, who was second on the team in target share behind Dontavian Wicks. And so just the fact that it's a good offense when everyone's healthy, and we still have question marks about who's going to get the targets, why can't it be Tucker Kraft, who is also a young athletic tight end as well?
Right. As we put it, dart throws with the Bills in mind. So Elijah Moore is kind of a fantasy in more ways than one here, but to imagine actually being the player that came into the league when he was drafted in the second round by the Jets. He's got Allen here, a huge upgrade, needless to say, over his previous quarterbacks. Any hope there that he becomes relevant?
Like everyone else, especially for using advanced tactics and best ball and drafting the Eagles, I'll tack on all these Bills in the later rounds, Elijah Moore in the last round included, because we're doing 18 to 20 round drafts. I know a lot of home leagues for people don't go that deep. Elijah Moore is still a questionable one. Now, in season-long leagues, it is easier to take it on because you can draft him, and then if he doesn't do anything week 1 or doesn't even play, you can simply cut him and use that roster spot on the waiver wire to replace him instead. So hope, I'm always crossing my fingers like everyone else just because I believe his peripherals are always a bit of a darling in the slot. And, again, this target tree is wide open for the Bills. So a little bit of hope in deeper leagues, yes. But I still think Keon Coleman is my favorite of the bunch.
Okay. I was hoping that the Bills would have drafted one of these sexy running back prospects, especially if there was any thought that Cook might not, that he might be difficult. But they didn't. They drafted mostly defense. They did pick a receiver in round 7, Caden Prather. This is a lot of our conversations tend to, whether it's fantasy football or not. Yesterday, Chris Trapasso brought up a couple names like this, those day 3 running backs around the league. And in the context of your last point, when you're sort of just trying things in the last couple rounds of drafts, who are a couple that are your favorites?
There are 2, and that is one, Bashal Tootin for the Jaguars, because when we're taking these shots, remember, you need to ask yourself, is it possible this player can win both roles, not just a pass catching or an early down carry role? And take Bigsby now, although he was the better pure runner than Travis Etienne for Jacksonville last year, Tank Bigsby has now struggled immensely to earn targets and then catch those targets that he earns in 2 years in a row. And Travis Etienne on the final year of his deal, perhaps it is not the long-term option that the Jaguars want. So Bashal Tootin being the most athletic running back to come out of this year's class, which, by the way, was the most athletic class we've seen ever test, that says something about Tootin's explosiveness, and he can do both as he showed us in college. So Tootin's one of them. And then the other one I think interesting is Brashad Smith for Kansas City, who started in by the way, in the Senior Bowl. Ask anyone who was there. He was one of the initial winners of the Senior Bowl, the best performer at his position. And now, yes, Isaiah Pacheco, who, remember, is only a 7th-round draft pick. He returned. He was injured. He could not run effectively. But maybe, let's just step back for a second and say maybe it wasn't just due to injury. Maybe he's not explosive enough to begin with, and that's kind of what the Chiefs, I feel like, went into the offseason targeting. Not only improving their offensive line, but also adding a player like Elijah Mitchell, who, you have to go back 2 years, but was one of the most explosive and physical running backs in the league. I think they're looking for a ground game to actually help them open up their passing game even more this year, since they'll finally have Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown all healthy together. And so Brashad Smith is someone who stood out as a workhorse at SMU. I think he could potentially emerge into that, and it's only going to cost you a last-round pick.
39% Tootin on Underdog. Is that going to be a problem for me? 39%?
I don't think so. I actually love that number. That's a very bold number to have. You get it.
20 on Smith. John, it's great when we talk. That first time when I met you, that was one of my more embarrassing moments when I drank your drink, not thinking it was yours. It's great that we still talk, considering that happened.
And I believe I just drank it after you because I don't care. That's the kind of person I am.
Let's go with that. Thanks, John. Looking forward to talking some more during the season.
We will talk again very soon, brother. I appreciate it.
Great. John Daigle established the run. I told the thing yesterday about how he said this on our show. When he was younger, he was playing online poker. Maybe he still does. I don't know. And, he was playing after work. Didn't he work at a coffee shop or something? I forget. But he was playing after work like people would. And what it meant was that he was playing against, top competition in early evening, sort of waking hours. And he thought it'd be better. This is logical. He thought it'd be better odds to play against people in the middle of the night, right? Because people are drunk or just like not as with it. Seems like maybe other people could have thought of that too. But what John did, because, I don't know, his job schedule wasn't going to be easily affected, is he moved to Australia so that he could play Americans online when it was, 3 a.m. here. Gotta love that. I hope I have that story right. If it's not, hopefully it's true of someone. I think that was the story I remember. All right, give716.org is the site. It is 716 Day. We will continue here after sports with the latest update. 5 o'clock, Bulldog and Brian Koziel with their eyes on the Open Championship. Bulldogs pick 10. It's his turn. Lines are open for your calls here. You want to talk about some of those Bills projections points that John brought up? That would be great. And the Sabres. And from talking to Brad May earlier and Paul Hamilton with the schedule out, I've done a lot already here today. Brad May had me thinking about a couple of things on the Sabres front. So we'll get to that. Thanks for listening. This is Mike Schopp on WGR.
Day, Bills and Sabres Foundations hosting and helping raise as much money for local charities as possible. 550 charities are participating, and you can donate any amount to your favorite charities at give716.org. Donations will go until 11:59 p.m. tonight, and in this 4 p.m. hour, Wegmans is matching $25,000 donations. And currently, the total donations has crossed the $1.1 million mark. Sabres unveiled their 2025 schedule today. The opener is going to be at home Thursday, October 9th against the New York Rangers. Paul Hamilton does have more on the schedule up at our website, WGR550.com. Veterans are beginning to report for the Chargers. Their rookies reported over the weekend, and one vet, running back Najee Harris, is set to begin training camp on the non-football injury and illness list. It is not expected to be a long stay, but it does stem from an eye injury Harris suffered on the 4th of July. And then the Open Championship starts tomorrow. Brian Koziel will join the show in just about a half hour at 5 to talk the final major and the Porter Cup, which got underway locally earlier today. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
So then, not kidding, a fireworks accident goes down as non-football injury. I guess that's right. Yeah, NFI, non-football injury list for Najee Harris. Welcome back. It is Give 716 Day, give716.org. Next hour, I'll just give you a little sneak preview. 5 o'clock. Am I allowed to do this? Do they want these to be like secrets until the time comes?
No, it's on the website. You can tell it.
It is on the website. Starting at 5, the first 200 donors of $50 or more will receive Bison's tickets. And there are other Sabres, Bills, Bandits tickets going to be available this evening. So stay close for that. Give716.org. Brad May was in town this morning, and Tim Connolly as well. They made an appearance at a bank, and I talked to Brad last hour about, the Sabres. He's one of the many alumni who think of Buffalo very fondly. And why wouldn't Brad May do that? I mean, he had some special years here right out of juniors. So that isn't surprising, and also worked in their booth as well. Just had me thinking about, it's Give 716 Day. It's also imagine the Sabres being good day a little bit, because there's some nostalgia with this. Tickets are being given out. The schedule is out, right? You can kind of get excited for it. As opposed to other days, well, this is at least true of me, as opposed to other days when I think maybe more about their shortcomings and the playoff drought and everything like that. It's a day where you might not be as inclined to do that. I think the idea of going to their games right now seems pretty good because it's so hot. It'd be nice to get away from that, but, no games for a while. I was here with Bulldog, as you probably know, for almost all of the Bills drought. In fact, when I moved back to Buffalo from Rochester, that was the 2000 season, and that was the first year of the Bills drought. And it would be depressing, but also cathartic, and sometimes interesting to sort of reflect on the playoff drought. 17 years for the Bills it went. Now it's 8 years ago, but 17 years in a row without a playoff appearance. And we would naturally, in those discussions, hear from fans who were new college graduates, early 20s, legal drinking age, that would have had no memory of the Bills ever being good. For me, as a child, I got into them when I was about 7. I feel like that's around 7 or 8. Is around the age where kids start to follow sports. You can actually do that. It's different than it was in the 70s, but, any younger than that, what are you going to be able to remember or do with it? But, maybe 10 years old, whatever. So 99 is a playoff team, Bills. Then it's not until 2017. 17-year gap. And so a 25-year-old might have nothing and would call in every time we almost talked about this somebody would raise their hand and say, yeah, like kind of hard to imagine what it would feel like or look like because I've never seen it. And the Sabres are almost at that point where it's 14 years and you could have just graduated from high school last month and have no memory of them ever even being in the playoffs, which is incredible and sad because that is so by far the best part of hockey. It's what it's all for is the playoffs. I don't know if football is the same like that. Right now, the Bills are in a moment when it's about the Super Bowl, and like that's one thing. But for most of their history, they were not, and it didn't detract enough from the experience of going to games and following them that it meant the Bills didn't sell out all the time. I mean, they did anyway, even though there was really no realistic hope of a championship during like the Brady years. So they still were able to thrive, and draw and pack the stadium. And hockey, different. It's just like the sport itself, the quality of it, the drama. It goes from the regular season to the playoffs in the NHL. And I know I'm not telling you something you don't know, but it goes from 3 or 4 to like 9. I mean, it's just completely different. People who are not hockey fans watch it. It starts to matter to them because the games are so exciting. You get overtime and all of it. And to think that we have a new group of young adults that can't even tell you what it was. They just know from mom or dad or their, older siblings what 2006 was like. It's just once in a while it hits you that it's been that long. I don't think 2011 is very special at all. It's 2006. It's not making the playoffs. It's like winning is what I think about when I think about the distance, the amount of time it's been when the Sabres have been pretty lonely. 2011 was fun for a couple months. The team was sold, and that all sounded very exciting, and it felt great there for a minute. They've never been back. So I think of, those great 2 years prior to that, 10 or 11 aren't what my mind goes back to. And yeah, like, again, you probably know, if you're a fan of the team, you probably have heard us or family or friends talk about just how completely obsessed we got with them. And I've always said, and I would use those years as an example, that while the Bills are bigger and have a hold over more people, it's a bigger everything. The Bills versus an NHL team versus the Sabres. There is something about when the Sabres are hot that is better than the Bills. For me, there is something more intense about it, or just like it almost feels like we're walking around all the time and we're all thinking about it. I don't know if that is true, but it's just, you just become obsessed. And that's what's being missed here. And that I think somebody could tell a 20-year-old about the party in the plaza and different players and features of those teams. Okay, well, I can comprehend that. I can appreciate that. Wow, a lot of people were down here and everything. I thought it was, I'm not going to know. I'm biased, but I thought it might have, the Sabres thing at that time might have been the greatest sports scene anywhere in the country. A team and a place. And I think, the Bills have something bigger, wider ranging. It's a different, I'd put it in a different way. I don't know exactly how, but I wouldn't put it the same way. What they are when, it's on, and the Sabre thing is every day. A playoff team, it's not, they're not literally playing every day, but it's either usually a game day or the next day will be. Like it's a off and on, right? So they just consume you, those series. And how do I even know? I was there. I remember it. And, in the 80s and 90s too, as a kid and then a young adult, I can go back to it. Even though it's been that long, I can go back in my mind to the obsession that the Sabres in the playoffs would or could become. And, talking to Brad May, that's what came through to me is like, and he said the same in so many words, just that Buffalo is just waiting for a winner. And then, I don't know, do we go back to 05, 06 if this team is just like a playoff caliber team? Maybe it would take more than that. But I do, as frustrating as this kind of tends to make me, as frustrated as this tends to make me, because it's so easy for sports teams that it's just going to be sitting there waiting for them if they get good. I think it is. And, you have baseball teams, you have a lot of them even maybe, that are killing it financially with hardly any effort toward winning, relatively speaking. It just shouldn't be that easy. It shouldn't be so easy for a sports team to just get away with mediocrity for so long. I want them to win, and if they do, I'll be excited. But it really isn't really fair. It's so easy for a sports team to just have you when they make any kind of progress. I don't know if the Sabres are that exactly right now. I think they have a long way to go. And I asked Paul a couple of times with regard to the schedule because they have a home-heavy first month plus this year. Like, what do you think of their chances to get the fans in a good enough place where we're going to be ready to get into it like right away? What is it going to feel like if the Sabres start like 4-1 or something? Is that going to matter? Is that going to be enough? Maybe it will. Maybe that's enough, a small number of games to get people to a place where like, all right, I'm into this. Let's see where it goes. I mean that generally, but also in terms of the building and how they will do. I think it's tough for the fans, the season ticket holders. It's tough for the fans when this was me, when you have a lot of games packed together, because going down there 4 times in 7 nights, and they've got a couple of those like that this year. It just it becomes a lot. But early in the season, that's the case. They start with the Rangers on October 9th, and then after a game in Boston on the following Saturday, it's Monday afternoon, Wednesday night, Saturday afternoon, road game Wednesday night, Friday night. Like, it's right away, all the way through November 6th. It's 10 home games out of 14. So we'll see it'll be interesting to see what kind of crowds they draw right away, and then depending on how those first few games go. 803-0550 for your calls. 5 o'clock, Brian Koziol and Bulldog taking a break from his vacation to tell us who's going to win the Open Championship. Get your pen and paper ready for that one. That starts tomorrow, middle of the night in, Northern Ireland, this one? And they say it might rain like a lot this weekend there. Lines are open for you. This is Mike Schopp on WGR. .org. We'll talk some golf here in about 15 minutes. Bulldog will call in, give us his 10 picks for the Open Championship. Brian Koziol will be in the conversation too. I have Golf Channel on. I don't know the name of this guy with the mustache. A couple of things about this. So the Golf Channel has a guy, I'm sorry, I don't know his name. I've seen him a lot. And he does this thing where he's out on the golf course by himself and a camera crew, and he's explaining, like where to put the ball, where to leave it, and all the different things that can happen. This is the British Open, the Open Championship, so it's surely going to be how bad bounce here, and you're in a pot bunker, or you're just in a miserable spot, a spot of bother, if you will. I think it's an interesting idea. So I never have the sound up, but I feel like that would be an interesting segment, assuming the guy's good at all, and I assume that he is. For sports TV, where so much of it is just like mindless and the same ideas recycled over and over. Now at tennis this year at Wimbledon, we had, just like you have in every other sport, one of the analysts standing there with a racket and just like, it does get pretty arcane. Again, I like this though. So I'm watching it during this break, and I have the volume down. He's probably going through his thing, and he's approaching this green. And there's a crowd there. I mean, there would have been practice rounds today, right? The players would have been there. And there are people in these bleachers behind this green. I think maybe I'm seeing now it's hole number 10. Doesn't matter. So he's approaching, the green. He's got 30 or 40 yards. He throws a ball, and it bounces. It kicks into the right rough. He's probably making a point about how penal that is. Then he throws another one kind of down a hill. And he goes after that, and he plays it. So now you're seeing this analyst is over the ball. The ball is showing, but it's way off to the right in the rough, and he's surely hitting up to the green. And they show him hit the ball, and not right away does the camera cut to where it is. Like this is not the official broadcast where you'd have cameras from all directions. Eventually, the camera turns, and he's hit the ball into the bleachers, and you've got people that are like looking suddenly shocked, and one woman is covering her face. Like, did the guy just take out a fan in this pre-production segment here? Did that really need to happen? I don't think these fans are here for him. Like, this is cool being out here. I've been to a practice round. It's a fun day because you see the guys, dropping balls in different places and figuring out their plan. Here comes this announcer from America. Here comes this announcer who just maybe just beamed somebody. I don't know. I hope it was worth it. I'm not being critical because I do like the idea of this as a fan. Wow. He better make a shot there next time. Instead, if the point is how you can get yourself into trouble, I get it. And maybe he just proved that by ripping one into the fans there. Tough. We'll get back to the golf. Today is National Hot Dog Day. It's a great day. Treat yourself if you're so inclined. National Hot Dog Day. I might do that. You know what I don't get? The Chicago hot dog. So for National Hot Dog Day, the White Sox tweeted a short video of something like they said the proper way to dress a hot dog. Familiar with the Chicago hot dog? Mustard, chopped onions, tomato slices. Not needed. Does anybody else do that? The big chunks of tomato? Just eat the tomatoes then. Leave the hot dog out of it. Why would that work? So, no ketchup. Mustard, onions, giant chunks of tomatoes. Ugh, I'm not a fan. Then there are these little peppers. I can't even tell you what kind of peppers they are. Almost like pepperoncinis, but small. They're not probably. Small little, maybe hot peppers on the other side from the tomatoes, and maybe something. And celery salt is how this ends. Celery salt. They're trying way too hard.
There's just too much going on.
It's just you're trying way too hard.
Yeah.
You're trying to win the James Beard Award with your hot dog. And it's really just not called for. You just eat the tomatoes. If you have to have half a tomato cut up into wedges on your hot. Just eat. Have it be a side.
That really is the line. It is the tomato slices. What are we doing here?
Never tomatoes. Never. And they're not in like slices per se, like they'd be on a hamburger, which, that's fine. They're just like the big chunks. Ugh, terrible. So I know you like them. It's iconic. We have food that they won't like, maybe. How could that be? What would that be? What would be like one of Buffalo's favorites that somebody could talk like this about somewhere else?
Oh, beef on whack.
Oh, wow.
I think so. I think that's going to be the one.
Maybe, but it's great.
Oh, it's great.
It's the seeds.
That's it. They'll be like, what are you doing here? Like, it's going to be messy now. I just want a sandwich.
Okay. Chicago hot dog does not get my vote. Bulldog does get my vote. He will be on next with Brian to talk about the Open Championship. Wonder what they're serving over there in Northern Ireland that's popular. Mike Schopp here. Thanks for listening. This is WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the stopped me on the street last night. Said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright.
Right, that's an actual word. Is he on the tarmac and playing?
But life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to choose your time.
Happy 7-1 Day. Bills and Sabres Foundations hosting and helping raise as much money for local charities as possible. 550 charities are participating. You can donate any amount to your favorite charities at give716.org. Donations are going to go until 11:59 p.m. tonight, and special giveaways going on in the 5 p.m. hour. The first 200 donors of $50 or more will be getting Bison's tickets. The total donations so far have crossed the $1.1 million mark. The Sabres unveiled their 2025 schedule today. The opener is going to be at home Thursday, October 9th, against the New York Rangers. Paul Hamilton does have more on this up at our website, WGR550.com. Veterans beginning to report to training camp, notably for the Chargers. Running back Najee Harris is going to begin training camp on the non-football injury list. It is not expected to be a long stay, but it does stem from an eye injury that occurred on the 4th of July. And second-round rookie wide receiver Trey Harris still has not reported to camp. He is part of the 30 second-round picks who have still not signed their rookie deals. And then the Open Championship, it begins tomorrow. Brian Koziel joins the show next to talk the final major and the Porter Cup, which got underway locally today. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Happy, the ball itself has its own energy, or life force, if you will. Its natural environment is in the home. So why don't you send them home?
It's Mike Schopp.
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
And the Bulldog.
That Happy Gilmore, he's a real crack-up, isn't he? I mean, he's a hoot. You know, what was great today, one of his fans mooned me, and it had Happy written on his ass. Ha on the one cheek, and then, sure enough, PPY right there on the other.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Happy learned how to putt. Uh-oh.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Sure enough, has the transformation of this tournament from the British Open to the Open Championship become complete? Now it feels almost unnecessary to use championship, like the Open. But you have the U.S. Open problem. And that always was the Open. I don't know. I feel like everybody has moved over, which is fine. I mean, that's their name. It's been a while. I think everybody has moved over to the Open Championship or the Open. I don't want to have to explain it every time. Just want to have it be short and sweet. Well, this is a major. And on this show, that means it's time again for the Pick 10 bet. every Wednesday before a major, we take turns, myself, Bulldog, and Brian Koziol, picking 10 names at different odds to take down, in this case, the Claret Jug. What's better? Brian is with us on the West Her hotline, out fresh from the Porter Cup. Brian, would you describe yourself as fresh?
I would say fresh is the exact opposite. My shirt is still kind of drenched. And,
what is the opposite of
I'm
fresh?
exhausted from walking 9 holes, but kudos to the players today. My goodness. I mean, some of them even carrying their own bag up at Niagara Falls Country Club, and all the staff up there for getting day one going smoothly in the, I'll call it, oppressive heat. It was fun to walk and watch when I was under a tree and in the shade, but man, in the sun, it was rough.
I think oppressive is fair. And joining us from somewhere other than Niagara Falls Country Club is the Bulldog from his vacation. And what are the conditions there, wherever you are?
The conditions are the beer is cold. Right now, I'm on a patio near you. I don't know what that really means because, people say that, but it's yes. Hurdle Avenue. I don't know. If you're near Hurdle, then I'm near you. Anyway, this is an endorsement. Not that no one knows this, but the restorative power of the ice cold shower after walking 18 this afternoon at Delaware Park. I feel like $1 million, but I've been home and showered, and I've got a cold beer in front of me. Sounds like Brian has that in his immediate future, and that will be good for him, I'm sure.
Yes,
good advice. I'm gonna do that.
I'm all lame here in the studio, which
well,
you're at home. Vacation. You're on vacation at home, which is that's one way to do it. Okay, so Brian, set us up. Final major of the year. It's been, as we know from this game, the big names, at least until J.J. Spawn, but he was still pretty highly ranked. The stars have been winning majors here. What do you see this week?
Yeah, I mean, we had McIlroy and Scheffler and then Spawn, but good storylines at good courses. And now we shift to Royal Port Rush, which is drawing rave reviews. It's only the third time that they've hosted the Open. 1951, I won't quiz you on that. 2019, an Irishman won it. Who's got it?
Lowry,
yep. Shane Lowry. And then, of course, now 2025. It's the only venue outside of Great Britain that has hosted the event ever. It had done a major renovation prior to that 2019 event, and players just absolutely love it. I mean, beyond what St. Andrews is about with the history of golf and all that goes with the town and all that sort of stuff, it seemed as though if players were going to say which one is their favorite course in the rotation, it seems as though this one is a popular answer. It's kind of a bigger setting because of the renovation, so a little bit more space in between holes, which makes it a little more prettier on TV, and it's the fewest bunkers. So I know that's one thing that's usually that we always get to see quite a bit is those pot bunkers. Now, the bunkers in this tournament and with true link-style courses are supposed to be more penalizing than what we see in the United States set of courses. So landing in a bunker this week is actually not good. I know in a lot of majors we hear, they'd rather be in the bunker than in the rough. Not the case. Yes, there are still penalizing bunkers here this week, but it's the fewest bunkers in the Open Rota in terms of the location. So, and the last time, not only did Lowry win, but the last time here, probably the guy that, again, is drawing the biggest headlines, Rory McIlroy, did not handle going home to Northern Ireland very well, where he kind of said he tried to shut the door on all the attention and all the embracing and all the folk, fans and folklore getting after him. And he hit his opening tee shot in round one out of bounds, went on to shoot a 79, and then had that historic charge on day two to try to make the cut. He shot a 65, missed it by one. But he said he's taking a total 180 approach this year. He's soaking everything in and trying to really embrace everyone that's been supporting him throughout his golf life and all of his Irish fans that are coming out to support him. So we may see a little different McIlroy this week, who came off of a second-place finish last week at the Scottish Open. So he's playing well, at least in this last tournament out.
Bulldog, Rory McIlroy, have you considered him?
Wait, the second favorite on the board? Yes. Playing in his home country, yeah, I have given him some consideration.
Okay.
Yes.
And Lowry.
Yes, and they're both going to be. I'm very UK heavy and Irish heavy. I'm going with the home field advantage, I think.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
As it turns out, yeah.
Interesting. Yes, and Brian, well done. Northern Ireland is not part of Great Britain, but it is part of the UK. So we want to all make sure we know that. That's what we've got here. Do I remember correctly that the scores at this place last time were super low?
Lowry finished at 15 under.
Okay, yeah.
So,
well,
yes,
that's pretty low.
Now, he did have a pretty big gap to second, which was Fleetwood, which was 9, and Finau 7. So maybe if you want to call Lowry a little bit of an outlier, go ahead. But, I mean, second and third were 9 under and 7 under. That's probably around where a lot of the majors are, minus the U.S. Open. If we're talking PGA and we're talking Masters, that's probably, around that 9-10 under score. Seems to be like the average, I guess, if I was going to pick. So, yeah, Lowry handled it really well. In fact, he actually was 1 over par in his final round. So he actually kind of cruised to victory. There wasn't much drama with this one. But, I mean, the names that you mentioned, Bulldog, about, taking heavy European players.
Yep.
I mean, Lowry won it. Fleetwood second. I mean, at the time, Westwood fourth. McIntyre sixth. Willett and Hatton sixth. Rahm 11th. So, I mean, these guys that we feel like, when you think about who plays great at these link-style courses, they all, a decent amount of them obviously fared well the last time it was at this course in 2019.
Yes. I saw an amazing stat about the greats and the British Open, the Open Championship, on Golf Channel today. So average finish for, I think, their entire careers, average finish in this tournament. Tiger Woods, how many times did he win it, Brian? Maybe 3? Something like that?
Yeah, I think 3 sounds right.
His
Maybe
average...
4. 3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4. His average finish at the Open Championship, 18th. So, I mean, there are a couple of memories in here of Tiger, like having a nightmare round in bad weather over there. But, Tiger Woods, average finish at the British Open.
You were right, by the way. 3.
3
times.
18th.
Yep.
Rory McIlroy's average finish in this tournament, 37.3. I mean, he's won it, but his average finish is 37.3. And so most of the greats, their numbers are kind of around Tiger's number. Nicklaus, Brian, 18, I think it was 18 Open Championships. His average finish, 3rd. Wow. 3.2. Like he just maybe, wow. I wonder what his worst was, to have an average of 3.2 for his career at that tournament. I'm pretty sure it's every year he played, maybe not. 61 to 80, I think I saw.
I don't want to say this without letting everybody know. I feel like I just kind of remember it, but I feel like, did he go in the 70s where he was top 3 or top 5 in every single Open, like for the decade straight? I don't know, something like that.
It sounds like it.
It sounds, yeah, it almost sounds like that has to be right.
Well, that's true, yeah. For that average to be what it is.
Where's a 60th? What would that do to the average? If he just kind of like you get all the time from even the very best guys. They're just sort of they make the cut, but they're not really a contender. Yeah.
So here, just to back it up, Nicklaus won the Open twice in the 70s, both of them at St. Andrews, and he finished in the top 5 in every single Open championship during the 70s. That is amazing.
That is amazing.
That is amazing.
Yes.
That is dominance is what that is.
We agree. Watson won in 75 in his debut, I think. That was 1 year. All right, so Bulldog, tell us what you're thinking here. I've got some odds. Yours might be a little different.
Well, I checked this morning, and I saw the top 3 were Scotty, Rory, and Rahm.
Yep.
And Rahm, I think, was a distant 3rd in the odds. Doesn't matter to me. I'm leaving him off. So I don't think there'll be any controversy unless things have changed since this morning. If there's some development I haven't seen, I'll take Scotty and Rory up on the top half pay tier. Nervous as always about Rory, but I'm encouraged to hear Brian's explanation of his mindset coming in, trying to do it differently than he did the last time it was there. And I don't know, like, how this year, like, he's had, obviously the incredible glory and then some bitter disappointment, and I don't know, some maybe out of character for what we think of him, just not talking to the media and being just kind of surly. So I'm a little worried about where his head's at, but I'm going to take him because I just can't deny the compelling storyline of him and, this golf course and in that country. I feel it would just be stupid to not take him. So I guess I believe he can win it and keep his head together. And Scotty, to me, is just Scotty. Like, it's almost, to me, you don't have to, but I feel like I have to take him. So those are going to be my two there. And then, again, I don't think there'll be much problem here. The mid-tier, I've got 6 guys in the mid, which means I'll have a couple down below that I think are well clear of 20. But in the full pay tier, I will go with DeChambeau, Fleetwood, who Brian mentioned there, was good the last time this was played there. I'm going to take Oberg because I feel like until he does win one, he's going to be a very popular choice for, a player who's due to win one. He's got the game and all that. So I like him. I'm going to take Lowry, defending champ, Irishman, like the flow of that. And then I'll take Patton and McIntyre to close out that mid-tier, full-pay tier. And then on the double end, I'm going to take Adam Scott and Justin Rose.
How many?
Both to me seem to be very capable of winning, and I've had moments this year. Justin Rose was fantastic early this year. Was at the Players when he took no, that wasn't the Players. That was Rory with Spawn.
The Masters.
Oh, the Masters. Rory, yeah, right. So I like both of them as just sort of sneaky, it's the Open Championship. There, I said it. I don't feel inclined to say British Open at all anymore. Mm-hmm. And hearing you explain yourself at the beginning of this segment is when I realized it. I don't think it was a conscious decision, which is how those things I think should work. Like, it becomes the vernacular and it's accepted and you just go with it. And I don't feel funny now saying the Open Championship. I feel funny saying the British Open.
There it is.
Anyway, there's my Brit-heavy team.
Yeah, really? Like, how many Americans?
Yeah.
One?
Scheffler, I think that's it. Yeah. That's it. Just Scheffler. Oh, DeChambeau, too.
DeChambeau's American, right? Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Two out of 10.
So American.
Yeah. Rose played well last week. He finished 6th at the Scottish Open. And Adam Scott did. Remember, he actually was tied for the lead at the U.S. Open during that rain delay piece, and then he
fell apart. What happened there?
Yeah, he did down the stretch.
I know how hard it was and weather and everything like that, but that was the guy you kind of thought might, because of his experience, be the one who would hold up. And he fell apart in that back nine.
Yeah, him and Burns just did not handle coming back out, and then I think were they paired together? It wasn't really good for either of them, obviously. The only name that I feel like that Bulldog did not take that I guess I would like to get his comment on, Mike, unless you want to add into this.
Please,
is Schauffele, who's the defending champion, who finished 8th last week. He obviously is a quality player, and he's ranked 3rd in the world. So I was just curious as to why no Xander.
I don't like his face, Brian. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. He and Scotty both this week have made comments that I think to varying degrees have made the rounds. I don't know if both of you guys have seen them, but Scotty went really deep on the satisfaction of winning, and I was sort of nodding along to that. And then I saw something from Schauffele this morning, and even though it was like a similar sentiment, I was just like, nah, I'm not picking you. I don't know. If he were one in the world, I probably would have taken him and let Scotty off. But I don't know. It's just, sometimes your own personal mindset when, whatever you're thinking about when you see something like that can affect how it lands on you. And so I'm penalizing Schauffele for feeling the same way Scheffler feels.
I haven't talked about the Scheffler, and by the way, thanks for asking, Brian, but I'm getting enough airtime this week. So, happy to have you go. I I want to talk about the Scheffler comments. They're really interesting. He seems like a kind of a tough guy to please, if that's not unfair. And I understand it. Talking about how, like, even when you win, it only lasts a couple seconds, and then you're on to the next thing. And he's talked about legacy in an interesting way before. It's like, what something to the effect of, in 100 years, nobody's going to know anything about this or care at all. Like, it's just very, very kind of dry and almost sad, almost. But I don't mean that to judge him negatively.
Right. Yeah. I feel like you could definitely take a sadness from both he and Schauffele's comments, but I don't know. Maybe it's just my age. I appreciate that these are guys who are, at or near. I mean, Scotty's one. What did you say? Schauffele is third in the world, Brian. Yep. They're at the top of the heap of this sport, but yet they, assuming they're being honest here, which I am, they're sounding like it's not the most important thing in the world all the time. Like it is when you're in it, but they know enough to not have it mean more than it should. And I really appreciate that perspective, because I think, we can tend to over-dramatize the clutch guys and the guys that come through and the winners. Think about the comments both of these guys have made through the lens of Tiger and what he sounded like 15 or 20 years ago about this kind of thing. I mean, it was blood sport, ruthless. Like, that was all that mattered. And, like, he's got the hardware to back that up. But I don't know, I appreciate the, stop and smell the flowers of the things that aren't necessarily golf-related aspect of what both guys are talking about.
Good point about Tiger. He's like, I didn't come here to finish second. It was
right.
Winning was it. I feel like in golf you can get away with sharing this publicly. In other sports, football would hate you. Football would ostracize you if you dared say, like, this wasn't the most important thing in your life. I think you get that from pre-draft interviews and stuff, where you hear that the prospects have to be convincing that they live for this. And I think it's a strike against to many scouts if you don't.
Yep.
But golf, you don't have to answer to that.
Yeah, we're kind of having a bit of a reckoning. I mean, we've got like the tennis. There's the player on the men's side whose name is escaping me, who talked about feeling very alone at Wimbledon last week. And then Anisimova, obviously, her story has been well documented. And, like, mental health amongst the solo performers. Like, of course, they've got these teams of people that are helping them do everything, but somewhere, at some level, all these people, Anisimova, Scheffler, Schauffele, all know that those teams of people depend on their performance, And it's just a very unique kind of pressure that really doesn't exist in the same way in team sports.
Yeah. Osaka, famously, too, in tennis. Brian?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I think, was it Zverev from Germany that's made
that's
those
it.
comments?
That's it, Zverev.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
I think too, and I think Scheffler did elaborate this in that awesome 5-minute kind of soundbite that you're referring to. I mean, golf is 150 players and one guy wins. So like that mindset of how you handle that, I always feel like is so difficult. I mean, tennis in some sense might be a field of, a bracket of 64 or 128 or whatever. Like, again, one only wins in the end. But for golf, like, how do you judge success when the odds of you winning on a weekly basis, if you assume that everybody in some sense has some sort of an equal chance there? I mean, we're talking less than 1%. How do you view that as a success? Team sports, somebody always wins, right? It's one or the other. So like how these golfers and these tennis players, to me, like, I give them a ton of respect, because you're leaving your tournament or your event virtually every time losing, and if I said this on the air with you guys, I apologize for repeating it, but I love a quote from Roger Federer. He said it in a graduation commencement speech. He said, I won arguably 80% of my matches, but he said within games or within matches, I only won 54% of the points. And he says the best players in the world know that they're going to lose and how to deal with it. He's like, I'm going to lose essentially half of these points in every match I play. Like, how do I deal with it? And he's like, he thinks that the elite players I mean, I love the way he described it. He goes, the elite players know how to lose. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right, but I get what what he's saying. Like, you can have an amazing week at this golf tournament and finish 10th. And you're like, well, was that a good week or was that not a good week? I guess if you're Scotty Scheffler, we would label it as not a good week. But
baseball is great for this too because they lose 60 games. The best teams.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. All right, Brian. So who are we going to root for other than like everybody, including the 70 completely obscure European Tour players that we'll see them make a birdie and we're just going to scream with joy all weekend. I'm looking forward to a lot of that.
Yes. Now, in terms of the who, I'll dodge the who and say the what. I always root for at least one day of weather havoc at the Open. I always want to see, where maybe the umbrella is getting turned inside out and it's a little windy and things like that.
We could get 4 here.
There's a chance of rain every day.
Yep.
So I don't know exactly if that means it's going to be a disaster but it's a
little bit of a disaster. Would be good.
50 to 70% chance of rain every day, temps in the 60s. So I don't know. I mean, you get a little good wind and good little rain coming down. I don't mind it at this event. So I'll throw one name out that I picked on Tee to Green last week that I like. That's kind of I'm not calling it a long shot, but down the board a little, is Sepp Straka, 50-1. 7th last week, has had 2 wins this year on tour. European Tour player who plays links really well. So I'll just throw one name out there if anybody else wants to throw a long shot bet. Sepp Straka.
And he's American, right? So, or is he?
Austrian.
Whoops.
Yes.
There I go again. All right, Bulldog, safe travels getting back from your vacation. I'll look forward to seeing you on Monday.
I will do the same. I look forward to seeing Brian at their Duster Challenge on Friday evening out at Glen Oak. Owen and I are going to play there in the afternoon, and it should line up just right for us to be available for that, Brian. Thank you for bringing it to my attention and encouraging us to take part in it.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Should be a good night, and the weather looks perfect on Friday, which for us is a big part because we don't have any control of that. So
good for you too.
Yeah, enjoy your few days off. We'll see you Friday.
All right, and Brian, I'll talk to you tomorrow at some point.
Sounds great. Thanks, Mike.
All right, the Open Championship, Bulldogs pick 10 is out. I'm sure he'll tweet it, and here we go. It really, I say it every time. I don't know if I ever need to, but it's a bet game that provides way more fun than it seems like it should for what it is. Because while John McEntee, who's 5 over, makes a birdie, it's unreasonable to be too excited about that. But hey, it's a step. You never know. That U.S. Open was incredible for the swings. And when was it Spahn's tournament? It could have been Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, bogey's the first 4 holes. You've got Burns, who's kind of flawless that week. You've got Scott and a few other guys that are around, and he just goes and wins. I mean, tracking win probability on these things with this bet, not always. Sometimes it's a runaway and it's just forget it, but can be crazy. So I recommend it. Get 2 friends or whatever, one. So one person picks 10 names for the winner. We built odds into it a couple of years ago to make it more tempting to pick long shots. It's only worked a little bit. Anyway, I love it. All right. Thanks for indulging me. 803-0550. This is Mike Schopp. Don't forget, give716.org. Donations continue to look great. And thanks to everybody participating and organizing and that's been a part of the whole project today. Back after sports, this is WGR.
716 Day, Bills and Sabres Foundations are hosting and helping raise as much money for local charities as possible. 550 charities are participating. You can donate any amount to your favorites at give716.org. Donations are going to go until 11:59 p.m. tonight. And in this hour, the first 200 donors of $50 or more will be gifted Bison's tickets. Total donations just under, right now, $1.2 million. Sabres unveiled their 2025 schedule today. The opener will be at home Thursday, October 9th, against the New York Rangers. Paul Hamilton does have more on the schedule up at our website, WGR550.com. And teams are beginning to have veterans report to training camp today, including the Chargers. Their rookies reported over the weekend as they are taking part in the Hall of Fame game against Detroit. Running back Najee Harris, he is going to begin training camp on the non-football injury list. That is due to an eye injury that occurred on the 4th of July. It is not expected to be a long stay, though, for Harris. And then second-round rookie wide receiver Trey Harris. He is still not reported to camp. He is part of the 30 second-round picks from this year that have still not signed their rookie deals, as reportedly they are all looking for fully guaranteed contracts. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown at dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Is it great to be able to win tournaments and to accomplish the things I have in the game of golf? Yeah. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes just to think about, because it's literally worked my entire life to become good at this sport, and to have that kind of sense of accomplishment, I think, is a pretty cool feeling. You know, to get to live out your dreams is very special. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not out here to inspire the next generation of golfers. I'm not here to inspire somebody else to be the best player in the world, because what's the point? You know, this is not a fulfilling life. It's fulfilling from the sense of accomplishment, but it's not fulfilling from a sense of like the deepest places of your heart. You know, there's a lot of people that make it to what they thought was going to fulfill them in life, and then you get there and all of a sudden you get to number one in the world, and then they're like, what's the point? Wow.
Scotty Scheffler earlier this week, number one player in golf, Open Championship tomorrow. Thoughts are welcome at 803-0550. I respect it. It's a little... I mean, I feel like I have to sit in judgment, right? Because that's what I'm here for, no matter what the thing is. To hear I'm not here to inspire young golfers because what's the point? I mean, that doesn't sound great. I think I know what he means. He's telling you, at least as far as he's concerned, this really isn't that much fun, or fulfilling was his word that he kept using. And it's kind of depressing. And I could see, maybe they wouldn't have to be right, but I could see the aforementioned young golfers being like, well, screw that. Like, what? I'm not, can I choose to be inspired by you? The guy has been great for years here and won tons of stuff. He is on track, unless he just gets bored and gives up or whatever, to be an all-timer. And it's a little bit disappointing to feel like he's not really engaged in this way, you know? But that's obviously his choice, and it's what, either I want to say it's what works for him, or it's just where he landed, you know? Like, he thought it would feel better to be the best. Some of you might know what I'm about to say, because I've used this reference many times. Anything like this, and it's very interesting, reminds me of Brett Favre. He talked like this. When Green Bay beat New England in Super Bowl 31, I think that's about the last number I think I know from Super Bowls. One of them. 31. I always have, are you the same? I always have to count now, 50-something. I always have to figure out years, and, it's so hard. 31, Green Bay, New England. And so Favre, MVP player, not in the game, but still, he talked about in a documentary how he got on the podium, Mike Holmgren, all the confetti. This was it. For a few years, he'd been close and lost to Dallas or San Francisco, or at least Dallas a few times. And he was criticized because Favre would turn the ball over. He was almost like, if I'm not making this too confusing, he's almost like how Mickelson was in golf. Like somebody who took too many chances and paid for it. kind of what Allen's reputation maybe used to be, whether that was fair or not. Anyway, so he makes it. We did it. We won. And he said on this documentary, America's Game, how he was thinking on the podium at the Super Bowl, it was just over. Is this all there is? And he was sad about it. He was like, I'm not going to be with the guys tomorrow or, in a week. Like this is the end of something. And he wanted it, if I remember right, to keep going. Instead of winning, I'd rather just keep going. This happens to me in card games. I mean, winning's nice too, but can't we just keep playing? That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to win. I just want to keep playing. Let's keep playing. So this reminds me of how Favre, I don't know if he's always this way, but he did talk like that about 96. Like just, he was disappointed that it was over. Different from Scheffler, but not in the sense that the winning didn't, in that moment anyway, fulfill him. This, by the way, was not an interview he gave at the time. This was sitting down many years later for NFL Films, talking about how he remembered it. So it wasn't like he felt differently when he was older. He was telling you how he felt then after winning, and that's interesting too. Well, whatever. I mean, if you're not that satisfied for the purposes of sports and being a fan, you'd want the best player in the game, Scheffler, to keep at it and not just, quit or something because he's not fulfilled. It certainly is reasonable for him to say that, like, this is not the most important thing in life. You'd want to hear anybody say that or admit to that. And I do think, and maybe you would disagree. I mean, I single out football. I think that can't be how you sound in football to executives and scouts. I think that is a mark against when you don't come off like this is everything. They love this is everything, and that's fine. And that doesn't have to be a problem either. It doesn't work the other way where like it's bad necessarily for you as an athlete if you were just like obsessed with it and driven to that extent. But remember Josh Rosen, the Allen draft, the one that got away in that crop of good to great quarterbacks. Josh Rosen, he was this. At least it's how it seemed publicly when we were sitting here every day debating the Bills' options. No doubt were they going to pick one of them. Would Darnold be available? Mayfield, Allen, Rosen, Lamar Jackson. Rosen gave off the sense that he wasn't all in, I think. I never talked to him, so I don't know that firsthand, but that was the conversation at the time was, like, Bulldog would tell you he knew the Bills would never pick him because a McDermott team, 1 year into his career, was not going to risk, maybe among other reasons, but was not going to risk a quarterback that gave you this impression. And Allen, I don't know, Allen doesn't seem like a maniac to me. He's had a lot of success at a young age, and his public image, I think, is very well adjusted, sort of very kind of real and funny and kind of easygoing even. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't love football or care about it or find it fulfilling. I don't know exactly what he would say. I'd like to know what he would say to Scheffler's comments. I think you have to respect it. I think it's a little bit disappointing in the way that, like, I'm not here to inspire anybody. Please do not be inspired because it's not worth it, as he kept saying over and over there. He is the favorite, whether he likes it or not. He is the favorite going into play tomorrow. Mike Schopp here. I'll be right back. This is WGR. Yes, welcome back. I chatted with Brad May earlier today. If you missed that, that'll be coming up here shortly. Let's talk to Jay next. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Mike. I love this conversation about Scotty Scheffler. I could talk about this all day. There's so many layers and so many ways it can go. It also reminds me of the conversation that Xander Schauffele had, I think it was yesterday, talking about not having his trophies or in some kind of bank vault and not knowing where his gold medal is from the Olympics, and that his wife put up a photo of him winning it, but too high where he can't take it down, and he was pissed about that. So it's interesting when you hear Scotty talk, and even guys like Xander. I think what makes golf unique, and that's why I think what separates it maybe from the Michael Jordans of the world, is that there's such a grind to get to the top. And it's really based on you and what you do, right? When they win as a team, and when they lose as a player. And I think for guys like Xander and Scotty, there's so much history in golf that they carry with them that once they reach that pinnacle, I think like for a lot of athletes, they're left with what's next. And I think I look at someone like Josh, and I'll end here because I don't want to take too much time. I think Josh seems to show an ability to really enjoy the game and have some kind of balance. And with golf, I think that can be hard because if you don't play well, you're on the course grinding after hours and going crazy and trying to figure out. And that can be really hard. Then you got a family and all the nuances of life. So I think it makes it very difficult, but I will agree that the one thing I didn't like him saying about not inspiring people, I think you can still do that and find a way to enjoy what you do. But thanks again, Mike. As always, you do a great job. I appreciate what you do, my friend.
Thank you. Like listening to you, Jay. I'm unfortunately I should be able to take his comments to the next place, but thinking about golf and enjoyment and fulfillment and all these kinds of things, can it relate to us? Like, can it relate to what we get out of it or something? Like, needless to say, I would think, like, never played real competition when I was playing golf. You compete with yourself. You compete in little side tournaments or games, but nothing that really mattered other than just for my own gratification, like just nothing that really mattered. But it was when I felt like this isn't really fun like it used to be, I gave up. And that happened because I got to a point where I wasn't getting better. And that just compounds because you're not getting better, and then it bothers you, and then it's harder to get better. That is similar. I mean, I know I'm comparing myself to like the world's number one in golf, but that part is similar. I think if you become bothered by a lack of progress or success or something, then it would naturally be harder to overcome to get to where you want to be. So what do you have to do? What is Scheffler saying that he kind of has to do? Maybe is this stretching it too much? Is that like I'm better off not worrying about it? I want to win, but it's not everything. It sounds like a corollary to my thing. And Bulldog and I have talked on and off the air about this with golf because he's now a super avid player and finding that balance between wanting to do well but not wanting it too badly. That's what all this is, right? Wanting it but not too, quote, too badly. And when I play now, which is rare, I sometimes see myself getting back into it, but money and time, it's like not there for me right now. When I do play now, I take expectations or goals or pressure out of it, which doesn't feel good either sometimes because like you want to do well. You're playing with other people. You want to impress them, whatever it is. But I will not let myself get upset about a golf shot because it just doesn't seem worth it. There's what's not worth it. Getting annoyed out there. I'm going to pay the money. I'm going to give it 5 hours and I'm going to get upset. That doesn't add up to me. We got to leave the last part out. Brad May today, give716.org. The donations stay open and available on the website all the way up until midnight. Brad was in town from Toronto to help promote it. He and Tim Connolly got together for an event earlier today. He and I talked about Buffalo and the Sabres and the Give 716 event, among other things. They did not ask him about Amazing Race Canada, which I wanted to. It's on my list, but he was on Amazing Race Canada, I think, with his daughter. We used to love that show at home. The U.S. one. All right, Brad May after this here on WGR.